Thinking about moving to Mississauga but don't know exactly where to start? Then you're in luck. This video is going to break down absolutely everything for you. And whether you're a first-time buyer or you're looking to move up to your forever home, getting the big picture will save you both time, money, and definitely a lot of headaches. In today's video, I'm going to cover all of the most important areas, including home types, pricing, where the best schools are, where you can live, work, and play. And I promise by the end of the video, you'll know exactly where in Mississauga might be the right fit for you. And if you still don't feel that way by the end of this video, I'll be sharing a resource that will definitely take care of that problem. If we haven't met yet, my name is Mike. I'm a local realtor, and on this channel, you'll get real estate information that no one else is sharing with you. All right, let's get started. First, here are some really quick facts about Mississauga. Mississauga is home to about 720,000 people, making it the 7th largest city in all of Canada. Mississauga is also one of Ontario's safest major cities. The median total household income in Mississauga was around $102,000. Mississauga is a major employment center with over 70 Fortune 500 businesses having their Canadian headquarters in the city. There are over 70 public elementary schools, 22 middle schools, and 15 public high schools. And there are over 66 Catholic elementary schools and 14 Catholic high schools. And these schools have specialty programs like IB, IBT, SciTech, arts. It really just depends on the school. If you want more information on that, you can contact me directly. There are over 500 parks in Mississauga, more than 400 kilometers of trails, 11 community centers, 18 libraries, and dozens of arenas, pools, splash pads, and sports fields. Welcome to Mississauga. As you can see, I have the map of Mississauga on the screen here, and this is a huge city. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down into more digestible chunks this city, and I'm going to break it down into 3 areas. We're going to look at North Mississauga, Central Mississauga, and then South Mississauga. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so we can sort of see how the city is divided. Okay, so we have 3 major areas. I'm going to draw them as best as I can here. We have sort of North Mississauga here, which is going to go from the 407 down the 410/403 all the way across here, and then back up to the 407. This area up here is the airport, and we'll sort of get to that a little bit later. So this is North Mississauga, and then over here across the 403 and then down to the Queen Elizabeth Way is going to be Central Mississauga, and then south of the QEW, the Queen Elizabeth Way, is South Mississauga. So we have 3 major highways that are going to sort of border and break up the city. Highway 407 to the north, and we've got Highway 403 in the center, and then the QEW here on the south end, and that sort of breaks it up. And of course, we've got Highway 401, which is running right through the heart of North Mississauga. So we do have to touch quickly on the airport that is right in this area here. If you are flying in and out of the city very often, you'll probably want to live sort of in this north area of Mississauga, but otherwise that's where it is, kind of detached from the rest of the city, but you're really not that far away. Most areas of Mississauga, you can get to the airport within 15 to 30 minutes. Assuming there's no traffic on a bad day, sometimes it can take longer if you're coming from maybe like the southwest end here, but overall, it's not too bad to get here. I'm going to erase this, and then we'll take a look at the home prices and home types of each region. Welcome to North Mississauga. I've gone ahead and sort of drawn out this area here so you can see all the different neighborhoods specifically. So one thing to keep in mind is that Mississauga is a pretty old city overall, and everything north of this 403 has mostly been built out since around the 1980s. There's going to be other pockets that are a little bit older, like here, this Meadowvale area in the light blue, and this Streetsville area sort of here in this like purplish blue color. Streetsville is an old village that was sort of brought into the city of Mississauga a long time ago, and so you can find everything from sort of like historic homes to homes built through the 40s, 50s, 60s, all the way up until sort of new towns in the 2020s. Now, there's not a ton of new construction. These are sort of like executive towns that are going into like small little pockets of land. So new construction's not really too much of a thing in Mississauga. You really have to go to to sort of a Milton or a Brampton to get that, unless you are happy with a condo. If you want a condo, tons. You can get a lot around the Erin Mills Town Center area here, and then in the Square One area here, just south of the 403. To talk about some of this, what kind of other homes that you can find, the majority are going to be sort of detached homes. You will find definitely a mix of everything though. You can find a town, you can find a semi, you can find condo towns, condo apartments, but the majority will be detached, and that's just true of most of Mississauga. Depending upon where you are, again, sort of in this closer to the 403, most things here will be 80s, 90s built. Same thing with this Lisgar area up here in the red. Meadowvale, a little bit older, 70 to 90s built. And if you want something that's like newer, considered newer, that would be this Meadowvale Village area here, which was built sort of in the like early 2000s to about the, I don't know, maybe 2012, 2013 is kind of like the youngest that you'll kind of find within this area. So you're not going to find really like 0 to 5 years old. Like there's not a ton of those types of homes here, but overall you've got pretty good affordability here in the north. So to talk about detached pricing and all the median pricing of what you can find in this area, let's get into that next. So in terms of pricing, the way that I do it, and I like this method a lot better, is we look at median pricing. So this means that half of the sales will be below this number and half will be above this number. It's a little bit better than average pricing because average doesn't really tell you the whole story. If you have a $2 million home that sells and a $1 million home that sells, and you say that the average price is 1.5 million, people with $1 million budget think, well, I can't afford anything because everything's 1.5 million. And that's really not true. But if you say that there's a 1.5 is the median number, then that means, well, okay, half of the homes that sold are under 1.5 million. So with my $1 million budget, I can definitely afford something. There's just going to be half of the homes that are above 1.5 million. So this gives you a better idea of affordability within the city using the median number. So everything I use in this video and everything I use on my site and when you talk to me will be median numbers. So in North Mississauga, we're going to look at 3 and 4 bedrooms. We're not going to look at 2. We're not going to look at 5, just 3 and 4, because that's what most people want to know because they're going to be buying a 3 or 4 bedroom. So on the one end, we've got about 1.13 million up to about 1.375 million for a detached home in North Mississauga. A semi-detached around 980,000 to 1.1 million. A townhome will be about 975,000 to about 1.05 million. A condo town will be about 825 to 850,000, much more affordable. And a condo apartment will be around 500,000 to 580,000. So that's a 1 bedroom to a 2 bedroom range. So that's it for North Mississauga, just generally speaking, what you can find in this area and the pricing. And we're going to move on to Central Mississauga next. Welcome to Central Mississauga. Now we have Highway 403 to the north. We have the QEW, the Queen Elizabeth Way, to the south. We've got Oakville over here on the west, and then Etobicoke on the east. This area in terms of pricing is pretty similar to North Mississauga. The main difference is that it was developed mostly between the 60s and the 80s, and most homes you'll find here are going to be detached homes. A lot more bungalows and splits and raised bungalows, whereas in the north you're going to find mostly just typical 2-story detached for the most part, because those were built sort of in the 80s and beyond. So if you're looking for a different type of home, if you're someone that likes splits like me, for example, you're a downsizer, retiree, or a first timer looking to take on a little bit more of a project, you can definitely find lots of those types of homes all over Central Mississauga. There's really not much going on in terms of things being built after the 90s here, other than basically the new condos. So it's going to be older. Erin Mills will kind of be like mostly 70s builds, and then it'll be kind of just a mix all over the place in different areas as the city was built out over the different decades here. But in terms of pricing, pretty similar overall to North Mississauga. I would say the main difference other than pricing is just kind of community neighborhood feel. It's a little bit more cookie cutter-ish within North Mississauga, and sort of it's kind of an eclectic mix over here of types of neighborhoods, maybe a little bit patchier, not really planned sort of subdivisions in quite the same way as North Mississauga is. And there's also like an Arundel here in this area. There's like an old, very small old village. The old Arundel village is one one of the basically 4 villages. You got like Streetsville, Arundel, and then there's one in Clarkson essentially right here, and then Port Credit as well. These were like the 4 villages that were here before Mississauga. So if you want something a little bit different, there's some very small pockets of interesting homes within this Arundel pocket here. Pricing wise though, for realistic general homes, 3 to 4 bedroom detached, median pricing 1.18 million to 1.4 million. Semis around 990,000 to about 1.02 million. Townhomes, not a ton here, only 15 sales in the past year, about 975,000. It's mostly condo townhomes within this whole stretch. There's no real difference between 3 and 4 bedrooms here because frankly there are just not very many 4 bedrooms. So it's going to be about 800,000 for a condo town. And then generally speaking, looking at condo apartments, usually 1 beds are going to be somewhere between 450 to 500, let's say, especially if we're looking at the square 1 area where most of the condos will be. And then for a 2 bedroom, it can be anywhere from sort of 550 to 700, generally speaking. So that's to give you at least a little bit of a better range of what you can find there. So that's it for Central Mississauga. Let's move on next to South Mississauga and see what you can get there. Welcome to South Mississauga. We have the QEW here to the north. This is obviously the lake to the south. And then we've got Oakville here to the west and Etobicoke again here to the east. So you're going to find definitely a huge mix of different home types and home ages here. Starting from the west, Clarkson is kind of a mix of sort of 1950s classic suburban blue collar working class kind of area versus the huge custom estates here in the sort of like the Rattray Park Estates area. And then as we get into Lorne Park, this is sort of your luxury area built mostly sort of between 80s to sort of mid 90s ish. Some newer pockets in there, but that's around the general time frame. And then this Mineola area here is also another very luxury type pocket. These would be the 2 sort of main areas, especially this West Mineola here. East Mineola tends to be more similar to a Lakeview, where it's like a lot of post-war bungalows, like 40s, 50s, sort of 60s. But the homes here tend to be a little bit more overall, a little bit more luxury than in Lakeview. Lakeview has, again, more sort of a working class blue collar feel with like smaller homes on huge lots. But over time, over the years, what's happened is that a lot of those big lots have become custom homes. So you have very expensive neighborhoods, both in many parts of Lakeview, definitely all of Mineola and Lorne Park, and then sort of a mixed bag here in Clarkson. And then you have Port Credit, which is the old village of Port Credit. So you've got historic homes here. You have definitely some beautiful customs. You've got some sort of older, like charming, small, very cottagey type homes that are not too expensive, but for land value they are. And then you kind of got a mix. You've got condos, you've got rental buildings, kind of all over the place. In terms of pricing though, big jump here compared to the rest of Mississauga. This is going to be a premium area for the most part to buy in. Detached median pricing is between 1.57 million to 2.05 million. So that's about a $500,000 jump compared to Central and North Mississauga. Semis around 1.175 to 1.25 million. Not a ton within these communities, only 30 sales in last year in total. Townhomes about 1.2 million. So again, another big jump, about 200,000 or so. Condo towns, another big jump here, about 975,000. That was 800,000 in Central Mississauga and about 825 in North Mississauga. So big jump here. And then condo apartments, 1 beds from 585,000 median price to 2 beds, 750,000. So if you're looking for a premium though, you can definitely get that in this area, but you don't have to always break the bank to get a home here. This is why it's important to work with someone who knows the areas, because there are pockets that are affordable within these areas. You just have to know exactly where they are. So that's it for home types and home pricing. We're going to take a look at some sort of other major landmarks and parks and schooling and all of that in our next segment. Just a really quick break here. If you're finding value in this video, just go ahead and hit the like button below. It will help other people find content just like this. Okay, that's it. Let's get right back to it. Let's go ahead and start with schools, because I get asked that a lot. Hundreds of families are contacting me per year to ask where are the best school zones and schools in Mississauga. So this is just generally speaking. I like to look at it sort of more holistically and take a look at both public and Catholic and look at the overall school zone from elementary to middle to high school. And generally speaking, over the years, I've picked out sort of 5 that tend tend to have the best overall rankings, but this doesn't necessarily mean that they are like the best places to live and you have to go here. But people ask the question, so I'm going to answer it. We'll take a look at 5. We'll look at here in Central Erin Mills. East Credit is another here. Then we've got Meadowvale Village. Then we sort of have this like Port Credit, Lakeview, and all sort of together area, and then Lorne Park. So these are just, again, general, how they've done generally speaking over the years. I did a video on these neighborhoods specifically that you can check out in more detail. And for the latest school rankings and reports, visit my website. There's a link in the description below, and you can get the latest reports to see exactly where everything ranked in the current year. So if you are interested in schools, I do urge you though to contact me directly. It's something that I've looked at quite a bit, and I can kind of give you some more in-depth, high-level sort of information on it to give you a better idea of how you should sort of plan your move if your high priority is schools. Now, let's take a look at some major landmarks within Mississauga to sort of see what exactly you can do here. Now, taking a look at parks, I'm going to give you some of my personal favorite. There are over 500 to choose from, so I'm not going to take you through all of them, but I'll give you my maybe top 5. And I can tell you that you will spend probably years going through all of the different parks in Mississauga. I know that like during the COVID year, for example, raising a toddler during that time, we discovered parks we didn't even know existed. So there are, if you're an outdoorsy person, there are tons and tons of parks that you can explore. Some of my favorite, I'd say some top ones here are like the Jack Darling Park here down in South Mississauga, sort of the border between Lorne Park and Clarkson. Super nice, right by the lake. You can go on a nice little walk. There's like a little beach, like throw some rocks into Lake Ontario. It's got a bunch of playgrounds, picnic areas, splash pad, everything. And then right beside it, you've got Rat Ray Marsh, like a nice boardwalk that goes right over the marsh. You can sort of see like some really interesting birds. Ran into like a family of deer one time. So super nice area right beside each other. And there's a couple other spots that are really nice in that area. This whole area is really good for parks. The biggest park in Mississauga is right here in Arundel Park, right along the Credit River. People will do fishing there, but for the most part, it's like a huge park where you can sort of have parties and picnics and just run around. They've got a playground too and some really nice trails to walk through. Another big one would be sort of Lake Aquitaine over here. This is in the Meadowvale area. Super huge park, pond, so that you can go walk around like a man-made stormwater pond. Super nice. And I would say other than that, I mean, those are probably my top 4. I said I was going to give you a 5th one. I do kind of like the Vic Johnson area. If I zoomed in here, it's like somewhere in this area here in Streetsville. There's like, it's not necessarily a park, but it's like there's these trails that you can walk through, and it's right by the Vic Johnson Center, right in downtown Streetsville, like in the main strip area. That's like a really nice spot to be. So maybe I'll make that sort of in my top 5. Let's go on to sort of telling a little bit more about like major work centers in Mississauga and education. So you don't have to just think of Mississauga as a bedroom community. There are actually tons and tons of jobs within this area, and I'll show you some pockets where they tend to be. Actually, before I forget, I forgot to touch on a couple of things when it comes to things to do within the city. So of course we have Square One Shopping Center. This is the huge mall at the center of the city, which essentially is the downtown of Mississauga. And next to it, you have what's called Celebration Square, where you have all these events that are held. In terms of other major shopping centers, you have the Erin Mills Town Center, and then we have this area up here called the Heartland Town Center, which is like a huge big box outlet, essentially, that's kind of over a huge amount of space. Kind of got to be there to see it. It's not like enclosed in one area. It's basically just a ginormous, like 10 retail power centers in one kind of thing. So that's like your major retail and sort of shopping within the area. And then of course, things to do, they typically center around either Square One and Celebration Square in terms of events, or most people will go down to Port Credit to sort of enjoy sort of the strip of Port Credit and the patios and the restaurants and the bars and sort of the things to do in those areas. You've got community centers all over the place. You've got tons of libraries. Like, this is a really great spot for youth organized sports. If you are coming with a young family or thinking about moving as a young family, you have a ton of places to go. New libraries, community centers, as I said. There's like all those parks I talked about, over 500 arenas. Like, there's a million things to do within this area, and I didn't want to leave that out of this video. That would be obviously very important. And you can find these all over. You don't need to be in North Mississauga or Central Mississauga. They're all over. Even in South Mississauga, you have tons and tons of amenities. I would say overall, if you're looking for sort of like the newest stuff, that's going to be more so in North Mississauga just because of the age of it. But again, you can find these parks all over. Some of the best are going to be here in the south. You've got shopping more here in the central. But even as big of a city as it is, it's still very accessible and fairly easy to get around. So hopefully that cleared things up. But I've got tons of content on this. You can check out other videos I've done to see sort of more things to do. And you can also check out my website, which has some stuff to do as well. Okay, back to our major work centers. There are really only sort of a couple sort of major work centers, but they're important to touch upon. If you're watching this video and you're moving to Canada, for example, for work, probably we're ending up in this 401 and Erin Mills area here, in this Meadowvale Business Park area where a lot of the Fortune 500 Canadian headquarters are. Other than that, I would say sort of major office areas would be sort of around Square One, and then the rest is kind of like manufacturing, industrial base would be more towards the northeast of the city, towards the airport. Now, in terms of education, you have post-secondary institutions here. You have Sheridan College in the Square One area, and then you have the University of Toronto Mississauga here in the Arundel area, just around Arundel Park. These are fully fledged university for University of Toronto Mississauga. It's fully fledged university. It's got its tons of programs, a residence, a beautiful campus and everything. And then the Sheridan College is also its own fully fledged program, and you can do full programs there, or you can use it as a transition to go to a university program. And these are two very solid institutions. So if you're thinking about moving to Mississauga and you're thinking about, well, do I have an option? Does my kid have to go down to Toronto or have to go away for university or college? They don't necessarily have to. You've got post-secondary institutions here within the city. Let's move on actually now to those major developments, and I'll break them down because I think they're really important to understand if you're going to be moving to Mississauga. So let's take a look at, I'm going to point out maybe a few of them here. Here in Lakeview, this is a really big redevelopment that's happening to the waterfront. So we're just talking about Port Credit and its waterfront. That's all there is, kind of, is Port Credit as like the best part of the waterfront, other than sort of this like Jack Darling Park, Rattray Marsh area. But in terms of bringing people together and businesses and retail and everything, this next project here at Lakeview Village is going to be huge. It's a massive redevelopment. And then here in this Port Credit, Lorne Park boundary area down here, you have the Brightwater redevelopment. So these two together are going to bring a bunch of new residential units to the area, some mixed use office and retail, sort of more so in this Lakeview Village area. Again, you can find out more information on these in the major redevelopment video that I did. This is for at least 2025, and most of this is going to be beyond as well, so it will still be relevant even if you're watching this a couple of years later. Another big one will be the Hurontario LRT. So this is coming down Hurontario Street right north through south, and that's going to be light rail transit. Under construction at the moment, should hopefully be done by 2027. So if you're watching this in 2027, then hopefully it is done. And this is causing quite a bit of congestion and traffic in the area, but hopefully when it's done, it's going to work well, because the city desperately needs this kind of transit infrastructure. And it's going to connect in a loop to the Square One area to bring all of those people down to the GO stations to take them into Toronto, for example, if they're going for work or they're going to like bigger concerts or Jays games or whatever. It's going to basically help connect with Toronto and the rest of the city as well. Other than that, I would say that there's going to be more condo development coming around the Square One area, around the Erin Mills Center as well. And finally, we have a brand new hospital coming in this Cooksville area. This is really important because we only have 2 hospitals in Mississauga, and the one that it's going to be replacing is very old. And this is going to be the biggest hospital in Canada that is coming. And again, you can check out more information on that in the video I did on the development changes that are happening to Mississauga. I hope you've got the full picture on Mississauga now. If you still don't worry. As promised, I've got a resource that will take care of that problem. Head over to my website, which is linked in the description below. You're going to get the breakdown on every single neighborhood in Mississauga. There is a level of detail there that I promise that no one else is sharing with you. You can get everything from home types to the latest pricing to the latest school rankings and reports to things to do within those neighborhoods that only a local would know. And if you're seriously thinking about making a move to Mississauga, then you can contact me by one of the ways in the description below. I'd love to have a chat and see where in Mississauga might be the right fit for you. Before you go, just hit the like button and subscribe for more content. And if you want to check out more about Mississauga or other areas around the GTA, then you can check out some of these videos next. Okay, I'll see you there.